In the heart of Texas, a male nurse walks into an elderly apartment to check on his patient. He knocks at the door. His patient opens but looks shocked. They talk a little and he gets in. He puts his briefcase down, ready to attend to his patient, but instead of popping some bandages or medicine, he picks up a pillow and smothers the patient until she suffocates and is lifeless. The nurse then quickly checks the closet and other areas, picking up jewelry and other valuable items, packs them in his briefcase and walks out. In another apartment of a different elder, a maintenance guy enters the apartment with tools ready to be handy, except that he stops at the bed where the elderly woman is quietly sleeping. He picks up a pillow and smothers her until she could no longer move. The man then checks the apartment and steals all valuables and walks out. Family members of the respective elders report the incident, suspecting that their loved ones were unalived. These victims were elderly and under assisted living, and so without a thought, the cases were dismissed and the medical practitioners labeled them the elder passed due to natural causes. This goes on and on until there are 22 known cases of elderly women unalived in this manner. What is more shocking is that the death certificate of all these seniors read death by natural causes. So, who is this nurse, or who was that repair guy? And how was he able to evade authorities as he mercilessly attacked the most vulnerable of the society, leaving a trail of 22 deaths in his wake? This is a chilling story of a Kenyan immigrant to the US, Billy Chemirmir, who systematically targeted elderly women and became one of the most notorious serial killers in Texas history. Two sisters, Holly Williams and Lindsay Rowan, are in an elderly residence of a luxury senior living apartment in Plano, Texas. They are sorting stuff and belongings of Martha Williams, their mother. This is in March of 2018. The medical evaluation and autopsy report stated that Martha Williams passed as a result of natural causes of old age. As they were packing and cleaning the items, they see a few unusual things in their mother's residence. Jewelry boxes were disarrayed. There were a pair of Ray-Ban glasses that were not her style on the counter, and they also noticed a necklace and a ring they were sure did not belong to their mother lying in the bathroom. In the dining room, they found a mess of open and empty jewelry boxes, which was contrary to the careful way their mother organized her precious valuables. One of the sisters started to have a strange feeling about their observations and decided to turn over their mother's bedding, and it is here they discovered a pillow with an imprint of a face and deep dark blood stains. They look at each other and froze in fear, wishing that what they were both thinking would not be confirmed. They both knew their mother had not died of natural causes, but was smothered using that pillow that they were currently looking at. Just the next day, in a building next to their mother's apartment, an elderly woman was found unalived. Then a few days later, another neighboring resident, Mary Bartel, who was 91 years old at the time, was attacked but survived to tell that she was attacked by an intruder who tried to smother her with a pillow. She stated that she remembers when she opened the door after a knock, she saw a strange man she did not recognize wearing green gloves. The man forced her way in his apartment, cautioning her not to resist, prompting her, "Don't fight me, just lie on the bed." Bartel tried to reach the emergency alert button to raise an alarm, but was unable to press it before the man slammed a pillow on her face and smothered her into unconsciousness. By good grace, Bartel had a pacemaker in her chest which kept her alive up until her friend who was on her way to visit her arrived and called 911 after finding her unconscious. Bartel also reports that her jewelry were missing after the incident.
Just smashed a pillow down hard over my face and my chest, and I just couldn't breathe.
The string of similar pillow attacks of elderly women in the area with missing jewelry within a short span of time summoned a rethinking of the cases reported to the police. It was clear that none, including Martha Williams' case, was isolated. Everybody's thoughts were confirmed that there was a serial killer in the area, with particular target for vulnerable elderly women. Soon after Mary Bartel gave a statement to the police, a 45-year-old man, Billy Chemirmir, was held as a suspect after reports flying around that he was found with large amounts of jewelry and cash that people suspected could be a result of illegal dealings. Police trailed Chemirmir from that time on, following him to his apartment complex in Dallas, where he was found in his car holding jewelry and cash as people reported. From afar, police observed him throw away a red jewelry box in a dumpster, and when they pulled the red box out of the trash, they found documents with the name Luthi Harris. This saw immediate arrest of Chemirmir under suspicions of stealing jewelry, and this was just the following day after Mary Bartel's report. During the time of arrest, the police claimed that Chemirmir was found gripping cash and jewelry as they put him in handcuffs. Investigators then headed to Luthi Harris' home for further investigations. On arrival, they found her door locked and the home deserted. They forced their way inside only to find the 81-year-old's body lying lifeless on the floor of her bedroom. The police also allegedly claimed that they found Harris dead with a pillow near her and her makeup smeared on it, continuing the pattern of pillowcase smothering suspicions already witnessed in other seniors unaliving cases. Harris's discovery and case opened the Pandora box for Chemirmir as investigators began to combine through hundreds of reports of death and missing jewelry, trying to match them to records from Chemirmir's phone and jewelry found under his possession. More so, medical examinations on associated victims whose death certificates read death from natural causes were reviewed, and some changed to homicidal violence or undetermined. Billy Kipkorir Chemirmir was born on December 8, 1972 in Kabonyon village, Eldama Ravine, Rift Valley in Kenya. His father was a respected village chief, a position of significant local authority in his home area. He lived a pretty ordinary life, growing up in his family's farm together with his 27 siblings from his father's 3 wives and taking care of his elderly father. After high school, Chemirmir spent his time drinking in local bars until his sister, who was already abroad, helped him secure a visa. In 2003, Chemirmir won a green card and moved to the US, and he immediately got work as a car salesman. Chemirmir also got married in the US in 2004, giving him permanent residency in Denton County, Texas. However, the marriage did not last long as he and his wife ended up divorcing in 2006. Sometime later, Chemirmir transitioned into becoming a caregiver for elderly people working for agencies that would place him with clients. And as an ambitious man as he was, he soon found ways to get his own clients and work for himself, allowing him to make more money, charging about $20 to $30 an hour to take care of elders across North Texas. It is through this work that Chemirmir gained access to luxury senior living communities in Dallas and Collin counties, posing as a worker to get access to elderly women. It is not clear when Chemirmir turned from a promising man seeking greener pastures thousands of miles from home to a man that would only be defined by his cruel and horrifying merciless acts. Chemirmir cases are infamously known as pillowcase murders and involve the brutal unaliving of elderly women. Chemirmir's early life in Kenya was relatively unremarkable. However, his journey and settlement in the United States is marked by a series of legal troubles. Chemirmir, being on the opposite side of the law, was not new, as he had been arrested twice on charges of driving while intoxicated (DWI) in 2010 in Addison and served 18 months of probation for it. He then picked up a second DWI charge in Dallas in 2011 2011, just the next year, for which he did not show up in court and ended up with a warrant for his arrest. The very next year, in 2012, he was reportedly arrested on a family violence charge where he assaulted a female companion. According to police records, it was alleged that he and his girlfriend argued about him coming home drunk from a strip club. She tried to walk away to stop the argument, but Chemirmir began punching her in the face. He then started to beat her on the head with a pot and kicked her in the back. When she called 911, he grabbed a knife and began stabbing a red leather seat. The police found Chemirmir still in the house and angry. They arrested him and he pleaded guilty in exchange of a 70-day sentence in Dallas County Jail. 4 years later, in 2016, Chemirmir would be arrested again on a criminal trespass charge after showing up at the Edgemere Retirement Community, a high-end senior living complex in Dallas. When confronted, he gave his name as Benjamin Koitaba and was told to leave immediately. Dallas police instructed the apartment complex staff to call back if he trespassed again. According to police reports and court documents, it is the first time police know of Chemirmir being at any senior living center. Later in June the same year, Edgemere complex staff called police and said the suspicious man was back. Police quickly came and rounded Chemirmir. When he showed them his wallet, they found 2 IDs, one for Benjamin Koitaba and another one for Billy Chemirmir. He was charged with criminal trespass and was sentenced to 70 days in county jail. However, he was released on good behavior just after 12 days. After putting the pieces together, authorities now believe that he had unalived 2 women at the Edgemere complex the month before the second trespass charge. At the time, Chemirmir was acting as a caregiver for some of the families, but they knew him as Benjamin Koitaba, indicating that he used the name to masquerade his real identity. These early encounters with the law foreshadow a troubled future, but they were not yet indicative of the horrors to come. Billy Chemirmir's crime discourse took a high turn in 2018 when the veil of his heinous crimes was pulled down when he was accused of targeting elderly women and stealing from them. Soon after, the police found him with a jewelry box with the names of Luthi Harris on it. Chemirmir was linked to the 81-year-old's unaliving, making it the first capital murder crime he was accused of. Chemirmir was quickly arraigned in court, and his trial and legal proceedings began immediately. The first proceeding was for the capital murder trial centered on the unaliving of Luthi Harris, which began in November 2021. The trial was fraught with delays, including a mistrial declared on November 19, 2021, due to a 11-1 jury deadlock. A retrial commenced on April 25, 2022, resulting in Chemirmir's conviction for the murder of Harris on April 28, 2022. This was after evaluation of a security footage from Walmart where Chemirmir was seen stalking Harris from the store to her residence. It was then said that he smothered her with a pillow and was later found with her missing jewelry, her house keys, and a collage of souvenirs of $2 bills she owned. In his defense, Chemirmir tried to state that he had ordered the $2 bills from a bank as souvenirs, but when they arrived, he realized that he did not need them anymore and decided to just keep them in his residence. He also claimed that the jewelry belonging to Harris ended up in his possession after he bought it online, not knowing that it was stolen. The prosecution in the case decided not to seek a death penalty on Chemirmir, citing concerns about the lengthy appeal process and the costs associated with capital punishments. An interesting element during the retrial of Chemirmir, his lead attorney, Philip Hayes, was absent in court following an arrest a week prior on solicitation of a prostitution charge. This then saw another attorney take over the defense. Following this first conviction, Chemirmir then faced a second trial for the murder of Mary Brooks, an 88-year-old woman who was found dead in January 2018. Chemirmir was said to also have stalked Brooks from a Walmart store, following her to her home, forced his way inside, threw her on the bed and pushed a pillow over her face, smothering her to death. He then rifled through the cabinets and drawers, stealing jewelry, cash, and other valuables. The trial case for Brooks began in October 3, 2022, and Chemirmir was found guilty in October 7, 2022, 4 days later. During the same period of the trial, Chemirmir was also accused of attempted murder of Mary Battle, the 91-year-old woman from Plateau, who was the first to raise an alarm after surviving Chemirmir's attack. More crimes he was indicated for during the trials occurred in known senior luxury living complexes, and they include 1. The unaliving of Phyllis Payne, a 91-year-old, and Phoebe Perry, a 94-year-old, who died within a month of each other in 2016, just before Chemirmir was prosecuted for trespass in Edgemere Retirement Community case. Both women were recorded as death by natural causes, but police indicated that Chemirmir was the one who unalived both women and stole their jewelry. 2. The unaliving of another woman by the name Catherine Probst Sinclair, an 87-year-old who also died at Edgemere Retirement Community Complex apartment during the same period of the trespass charge. Her death was also first attributed to natural causes, but the Dallas County Medical Examiner changed the cause of her death to undetermined. However, Chemirmir was not indicated of Sinclair's unaliving, despite investigators saying that she was among his victims in the complex. 3. The unaliving of Joyce Abramowitz, an 82-year-old, which occurred in the Tradition Pestowood in Far North Dallas, and this was 8 days after Chemirmir was released from jail for trespassing at Edgemere Complex. 4. Chemirmir was accused of 8 deaths that occurred at Parkview Frisco and Peston Place in Plano, Texas. 5. He was also accused of 4 other deaths at private homes in Dallas, Richardson, and Plano, all in North Texas. On a different occasion, FBI cell phone expert told the jury that his analysis suggested that Chemirmir was at Martha Williams' apartment. He was said to be there for an hour and a half the day she died, then immediately left for a cash for gold shop he frequented in Dallas, indicating that he might have stolen Martha Williams' jewelry and was responsible for her death. Agitated family members of the victims of Chemirmir's unalivings gathered in courtrooms to confront and face him, in the hope that Chemirmir would see the damage he did and probably seek remorse. After a compilation of all associated cases, Chemirmir was indicated of 22 capital murder charges. 13 counts of capital murder were in Dallas County, while 9 counts, including 2 attempted murder charges, were in neighboring Collin County. Following 2 convictions in Dallas County, prosecutors dismissed the remaining 11 charges, including the case of Martha Williams, despite the fact that they were the first to discover anomalies in death certificates. The overall convictions led to Chemirmir being sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. Jurors took just 25 minutes to decide that Chemirmir was guilty. However, he did not appear to react to the verdict. Some of the remaining charges against Chemirmir were then dismissed, a decision that left many victims' families disappointed and frustrated. Chemirmir's victims were aged between 70 and 91 years old. He was said to be committing these heinous crimes actively for a period of 2 years, with actions extending across several Dallas suburbs. He managed to stay out of the radar with an extreme and disturbing pattern of violence and theft, since most of the cases were misclassified and overlooked. His modus operandi was chillingly methodical. Chemirmir reportedly posed as a medical professional or a maintenance person to gain access to the homes of his victims. Once inside, he would smother them with a pillow and steal their jewelry and other valuables. He used his connections as a senior caregiver to choose his target, while in other cases, he was reported to stalk the victim victims to familiarize with their routines and then launch his attack. Despite the irrefutable evidence against him, Chemirmir maintained that he was not guilty. He even sought an appeal for the conviction, stating that, "I am not a killer. I am not at all what they are saying I am. I am a very innocent person. I was not brought up that way. I didn't have any problems all my life." End of quote. He said he was brought up in a decent and humble household, trying to paint his character as that of a good person incapable of the acts he was accused of. Back home in Kenya, Chemirmir's kin were shocked by the news, stating that they did not expect that from him, as he was an introverted person who kept to himself. Before the arrest of Chemirmir, none of those cited deaths in North Texas cities were suspicious, at least not to the authorities involved. The only group that was suspicious of foul play were the families of the victims, who always wondered why precious items like jewelry were missing in their mother's luxury apartment. Unable to find answers for their cases, these families banded together, creating informal support groups, a sisterhood, as many of the daughters of the victims called it. During breaks in the trials period, these family members compared notes and recalled details of each of the cases as arraigned in court, and many carried with them subtle reminders of their mothers' lives as a way of building cohesiveness to see Chemirmir brought to justice. This allowed the members to process their shared trauma and grow stronger. According to the group, Chemirmir sold many of the items he stole online or at a Dallas gold and silver exchange shop, where they were probably quickly melted down and sold for their bulk value. These gold and silver shops became the focus of the group and also became a target of one of the several laws passed after Chemirmir's slayings, primarily due to a lobbying group founded by the victims' families called Secure Our Seniors' Safety. This is a non-profit organization that pushed to strengthen regulation on cash for gold shops in Texas, and also fronted for stronger security measures at senior living communities. The regulations pushed by the group would have required simple measures like staff background checks, visitors check-ins, and mandatory reporting of crimes to residents. However, they faced strong opposition from seniors living groups and were blocked in the state's legislature. Secure Our Seniors Safety Group continues to fight, emphasizing the need for enhancing security to protect vulnerable seniors in the community. Their efforts underscore systemic issues that allowed people like Chemirmir to go unchecked for years. Following his conviction, Billy Chemirmir was placed in Caulfield Unit, Tennessee Colony, East Texas prison to serve his life sentence. The story of Billy Chemirmir took a dramatic turn on September 19, 2023, months after his sentencing, when the Texas Department of Criminal Justice announced that Chemirmir was found dead in his prison cell at the Caulfield Unit of East Texas. The spokesperson of the department said that Chemirmir, who was at the time 50 years old, was unalived by his cellmate Yat Busby, a 39-year-old who was also serving a life sentence for murder. The exact circumstances of Chemirmir's deaths were disturbing and grim as his crimes were. A custodial death report filed by the Attorney General's office reported that Chemirmir was unalived with either a knife or an edged instrument. It was also reported that the means of death was blunt force trauma, but the actual cause of death was left pending. According to court and prison records, Yat Busby was serving a 50-year prison sentence after he was convicted of in a fatal stabbing of a man in the Houston area in 2016. The prison authorities did not release details about the motives of the murder, but added that the Texas Department of Criminal Justice had recently placed its 100 prisons on a rare statewide lockdown due to a rise of inmate-on-inmate violence, but the Caulfield unit remained under lockdown following Chemirmir's death. A Dallas district attorney, however, told reporters that Chemirmir allegedly made inappropriate comments on Yat Busby's children. Then Busby dragged Chemirmir out of the cell, beat him up, and and unalived him with a pen in front of other inmates. Chemirmir's lawyer, Philip Hills, who had returned as the lead attorney, said that his client's death was a horrible tragedy and added that nobody deserves to be unalived at any point, especially when they are in a place where they are being held against their will, insinuating that Chemirmir's imprisonment was unjust according to him. Billy Chemirmir's story is a harrowing example of how seemingly mundane interactions can mask deep, disturbing criminal intentions. From his early legal troubles and his brutal crimes and eventual death, Chemirmir's life is a grim reminder of potential for evil in unexpected places. The impact of his actions continues to reverberate through the lives of his victims' families and the broader community, driving efforts to enhance the safety and protection of vulnerable populations. The pillowcase murders have left an indelible mark on Texas area and beyond, serving as a sobering reminder of the importance of vigilance and reform in safeguarding the elderly. We send light and comfort to all victim families who are forced to live permanently without their loved ones. Until next time, stay safe and be vigilant.